Hello Internet, this is Roshi, and I'm back with another reaction, this time reacting to Genshin Impact's 5.1 version trailer, The Rainbow Destined to Burn. I'm excited to see what's up, so let's get into it.
I've had concerns for a long time. Malika's plan needs too much time, and too many things can go wrong.
So, specifics aside, the Pyro Archon confirmed the Gnosis can resolve the crisis, but it comes at a huge price.
This is a distress signal for the Masters of the Nightwind, so Auroron was indeed being threatened.
Great going, Malika. We're already off to a rocky start here.
Bring it! Let me praise names echo!
If she's trying to finish that ancient name, there's only one place she could go.
His soul is temporarily restrained by us, and it appears to have become more fragile in the process.
In the event that a confrontation becomes inevitable, I'll stall the captain while you advance.
And once you've learned the truth that the Pyro Archon Malwika would never willingly share with you, you may just find it in your heart to consider my proposal. We have to make the decision for her, here and now.
A land without the Lord of the Night, without the protection of the wolves, is doomed from the start.
You presume too much. Humanity's survival is worth any price.
Charge! Let's give them everything we've got!
Natlan must pay the price, and only Malika's death can clear the debt. All I wanted was to see her again.
My end will not come first, and I'm not giving up.
If I could go back, I would do whatever it took to ensure their survival. You've experienced something similar, Malwika. You should know exactly what I mean.
My apologies, but I had audio issues, so now I have to re-record my speculation all over again. Fun. Anyway, but that's just it. The following is just speculation. You guys probably have all the answers as of right now. I am not in natlan. For those who watch my channel, you already know that, so no spoilers, please. For those of you who are here for the first time for whatever reason, thank you so much, but don't take the next few minutes of what I have to say to heart, because I don't know what I'm talking about. It's just for fun. Anyway, here we go. First off, the trailer itself was fantastic. I thought it was amazing. I would like to share though that although I thought this trailer was amazing, it wasn't the best version trailer that we've had so far. In my opinion, yes, it was epic, it was really cool, lots of crazy stuff seems to be happening, and I know that they do this, but they also tend to introduce some kind of enemy or boss to fight within the world in these trailers, such as this contraption that we see halfway through it. This thing. We've seen that before. Fontaine had plenty of that. Other trailers had plenty of that, showing like the new world boss that you could fight. That's what I imagine this thing is, because there's no other purpose for this thing to be in the trailer. It is so out of place, and honestly, it kind of took me out of it because it didn't matter. It was just kind of like, okay, here we have Zelonid, whatever her name is. I don't know her name yet. I'm sorry if I mispronounced that. And then connected to that, we have this thing. And I'm like, I'm watching this, and honestly, I don't care. Maybe there's some crazy lore bits with the materials you can get from it, which are very fascinating. I'm sure I could make up something right now looking at its design and how it's all tech and probably even like ancient tech for all we know. But I'm like, it just felt like it took me out of it a little bit. And honestly, it's the combat moves that we saw it do isn't that different from when you fight one of those cubes, those elemental cubes that you've been able to do since the beginning of the game in Mondstadt. It doesn't stick out. It had like a claw thing, it had like a bullet thing. It was like, okay, we've seen this before, it's just a different skin. But that's just my opinion. I don't know if that's the case. I mean, let me know if you fought this thing and you've enjoyed fighting this thing. That's pretty much it. But anyway, that's the only negative thing I have to say about this. I just felt like this was shoehorned in for the sake of like them usually doing that anyway. But it was just a very less interesting enemy compared to the other ones that I've seen in previous version trailers. Regardless, let's talk about my my crackpot ideas and theories and such. Okay, first we have Mavuika, and we have her plan, right? They talk about her plan and how it takes too much time and too many things can go wrong. So there's this seed of doubt in what Mavuika is doing, what the supposed Archon is doing for, I guess, the sake of Natlan. And this ties into my thoughts about El Capitano. There's this male voice throughout the majority of it, where I think it's El Capitano's voice. It could be Auroran's, possibly, maybe it is, but I think it's Capitano, because it's this person offering a proposal. But then there are lines later on in the trailer like this: I would do whatever it took to ensure their survival. Coming from the voice who I assume to be Capitano. Once again, it might not be. Who is they? I'm not sure. But he does try to relate it to Mavuika and her goals, saying, this is something similar to what you've been through before as well. So it does sound like Capitano is trying to force a result of sorts, but he's not necessarily doing it through force, but rather speaking and trying to be logical and explaining the situation from his perspective. My guess is that because he's Fatui and he wants the Gnosis, it's to give him the Gnosis so he can go to the Tsaritsa, and then that Tsaritsa can go through with whatever her plan is, because that's going to save everyone or some shit. Who knows? That's what I feel like it's going to be, and we won't really necessarily find that out until we get to the next region, most likely. And then you have other lines here, such as, Natlan must pay the price, and only Mavuika's death can clear the debt. So, I feel like maybe this is part of the proposal, maybe this is part of the plan, where Mavuika has to sacrifice herself in order for something to actually happen. However, Mavuika perhaps has a different plan in mind, but it's the very long, stretched out solution. This is all just a guess. Maybe they're one and the same, who knows, whatever. But that's just the feeling that I have. Maybe there is this other ritual that needs to take place in forming this ancient name or whatever this is. And that's what she's trying to do. Meanwhile, you have Capitano and all these other characters just kind of like, hey girl, you need to actually do what you're supposed to do, because this is bad. Whatever's happening right now, this is bad. And perhaps that's his way of also getting the Gnosis as well, because she ends up gone and he can just take it. And this is why the title of this is also brilliant, because it's The Rainbow Destined to Burn. Now, when I think of rainbow, I think of hope, think of joy, happiness, lucky, all that stuff. I'm thinking of the Pyro Archon, or at least Mavuika, who is seen as the Pyro Archon, right? She is the person that pretty much runs Natlan, like most Archons do, right? They're highly respected. They are their hope. They are their joy. All that jazz. So, the rainbow destined to burn, Mavuika is destined to die in order to clear the debt that Natlan owes, whatever that debt is. I imagine it's connected to that night plane of existence that is very similar to an underworld of sorts. I'm cutting back this image because I think this is Auroran, maybe? I'm not sure, but either way, they do talk about Auroran as well. Right here. This is a distress signal for the Masters of the Night Wind. So Auroran was indeed being threatened. This confirms that Auroran is a master of the Night Wind. What are the Night Wind? You guys know more than me. I imagine it has something to do with that other realm, because I don't know if this is true, but I'm getting a sense of Osiris, or at least the equivalent of that. The Jackal, the Hades of sorts. Someone who is a keeper, a guardian of the underworld. Perhaps this is kind of their version of that. And then the last thing I want to talk about as far as my speculation goes is this. Specifics aside, the Pyro Archon confirmed the Gnosis can resolve the crisis, but it comes at a huge price. This huge price could be her death, right? Maybe it is part of her plan and all that jazz, and maybe she's just not letting everyone in on it because that could be dangerous, because I talked about in previous trailers and such how Natlan's very prideful and they have hope and their Pyro Archon's like the shit. So maybe there is something of that tied into it. Where if she just straight up came out and said, hey, I gotta die for this to work, people might be against it, but maybe not, because there seems to be a lot of, like I said earlier, seeds of doubt with some of the other voices that we heard talking about Mavuika and her plan. But the thing I really wanted to talk about is the mention of the Gnosis. The Pyro Archon confirmed the Gnosis can resolve the crisis. Now, in what way? I'm not entirely sure, but this is the first time I've heard of the Gnosis actually having some kind of power. And I know that might sound ridiculous to some of you. As far as I'm concerned, where I am in the game, the Gnosis is something that was given to a god to become an Archon of that region, and that it resonates with Celestia. Connect themselves with Celestia in that way and essentially follow the rules that were made for them. They've received their programming. I think that the Gnosis are powerful items, and the fact that they are tied to Celestia, but I never considered them more powerful than that. For example, there have been some people that are very confused who talk about how the Gnosis give the Archons their power, or some of their powers. This is not true. This is not true at all, at least where I am in the game. There's nothing that states this. I've seen discussion online how people would argue that, oh, well, Zhongli doesn't make Mora anymore because the Gnosis was taken from him, and that's the power that Celestia gave him in order to make him form a economy of sorts. And that's just not true. Zhongli isn't making Mora anymore because he wants to be as human as possible, and he doesn't give a fuck. That might be bad, but that's what that is. And that can be proven if you go back and look at his first story quest. It talks about him as a god, before being an Archon, being able to create Mora. So, right there, that just trumps that whole argument completely. So after all that yapping, what I'm trying to say about this part here is that I am interested to see the Gnosis actually come into play in a different way, other than just something for the Fatui to grab from the Archons. I want to see what's in store. How is this going to be used? Is it straight up die and give the Gnosis to the Fatui so they can do their plan? Or is there something more to it? I'm very excited to find out in 40 years when I finally get to Natlan. Essentially what I think is going to happen is that things are going to come to a head, tensions building. If it hasn't been already, Mavuika's plan is in action. However, it's taking too long and people are going to be pushing those boundaries to make shit happen, and whether or not that's a good thing or bad thing, we're gonna find out. But I think it's gonna ultimately lead to Mavuika's death. But as you know from earlier trailers and teasers, there's been a lot of symbolism with the Phoenix tied to Mavuika. So there's a good chance that Mavuika will sacrifice herself, but perhaps this, whatever she's doing with this ancient name, has something to do with the following things, and she will actually return. Like a phoenix does. When they die, they return from the ashes. They are reborn. So, that's been a theme of Natlan from the very beginning, ever since the Trevel trailer. So that's what I think is up. Now that I've shared my thoughts on the potential story stuff that's been happening, I want to talk a little bit about the characters here. We have Zelonin, don't know if I'm saying that right, and she's pretty cool. I love her face, her hair, I like her DJ rollerblading dance aesthetic she's got going on. However, I'm not a huge fan of her outfit. I feel like it's a dumbed down version of Dea and someone else. I can't quite think of it. Not saying that the fact that it's modern is bad, because I actually don't mind the modern look that Natlan has overall, but I feel like there could have been a different angle that they went with. Once again, I still think she's a gorgeous looking character, and her animations are smooth. She's on the keyboard, she's rollerblading around, that's a shot. Like, she's got the vibes, right? She seems really cool to move around with. These Natlan characters have been extremely fun to experiment with as far as their movement in game, and I can't wait to see more of what she has in store when I play her trial in a future video. Let's see, is there anything else? Those are boobs. We have this character over here who I'm looking forward to seeing more of. I believe this is the character that everyone told me that is voiced by March 7th. Another pink-haired character. Love this character's design, and I think they have a fortune-telling aesthetic. So I think one of the voice lines earlier was actually maybe from this character when talking about Mavuika's plan and such. Or maybe no, it was the part where they were talking about her potential death to cure Natlan's debt. I think that's what it was. I'm not sure. But she said a line that sounded like it came from a vision almost, where she was like predicting the future sort of. And I imagine that it's from this character. We also have characters like Chaska, I think her name is. And she appeared in this trailer once, just kind of standing around. And maybe she had some voice lines. But other than that, she has no significance in this trailer that I've seen. And I'm wondering how much she has to do with what happens. She's an elf, which is different, you know? I mean, the only other elf that I think we have is Klee. So yeah, I'm wondering what her motives are, if she's connected to any of this. As far as her design goes, now that I'm getting a better look at it, before I said she reminded me of Clorend, and that was mostly because of the hunter hat. They both have a similar hat thing going on. The rest of her, not quite at all. Her outfit is okay. In my opinion, it looks a little too busy. She seems to be suffering from not as bad, but almost like Kaya's default outfit. You can watch my character design tier list video if you want to hear what I have to say about that. It's way too busy, especially his upper chest section. She's okay. She's okay. I love her hair color. Eyes, great. I mean, she looks very pretty. But once again, like Zelonen's issue, it's her outfit could have been tweaked to be a little different, to be better, in my opinion. But what do I know? Anyway, that's essentially all I had to really say about this. I thought the trailer overall was very exciting. It was fun. Had a little bit of a dip with my attention when it came to that boss that they're introducing, but maybe there is more significance to that. You guys are going to have to let me know. And that's pretty much all I have to say. And with all that said, I'm going to leave it there. Thank you so much for watching this. If you enjoyed my speculations and my rants, then please let me know by leaving a like on the video, subscribing to the channel if you're not subscribed already, leaving a comment down below if you have something to say, and checking out the description for additional ways of how to support me. Every little bit counts, and it means a lot. Thank you so much for being here, and until next time, shine on, you crazy diamonds. Later.